It is Monday on Daily Delivery. Patrick Reusse joins me. I am host Michael Rand. Patrick, it's funny. As the end of that Vikings game was unfolding on Sunday, I could hear. I couldn't hear you, literally, but in my head, I could hear you with one of your trademark yoo-hoo-hoos, thinking about what you would say if that result held. Now, they did manage to rescue a victory from what should have been a easier victory with a last-second field goal after somehow giving up the lead to Detroit. But that game, man, what's going on with this team? Is Zimmer still insisting they're good? Because I hope not.
No, that was reasonably pathetic, and we were talking a little bit before we came on here. Yeah, they had a 10-point lead, and the game was over. 4 minutes to go. They had the ball down in their territory, and somehow, 15 minutes of actual time later, they're behind and need to complete 2 passes, and then have their kicker, who's very reliable as long as he's kicking from over 50 yards, make the bomb to win the game. And they beat the poor Lions. Coach Zim now 8-0 against the Lions, right? He's won his last 8 against them, which is
that's right, yeah.
Same record Tice had against them, by the way, 8-0. He had an 8-game winning streak against them. But yeah, it's just, here's the whole thing. Added up, 29 points in 2 weeks. And Cleveland's defense looked like the Bears of the 1980s against these guys last week. Yesterday, they gave up 47. Justin Herbert threw for 398. I don't get it. Where's the offense? I know Dalvin Cook's been hurt. Dalvin Cook's been hurt, but where's the offense? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. I mean, that was the strength of the team last year. That was what looked really good in weeks 2 and 3 this year, right? I mean, remember the Arizona game, they had 33 points and could have been more. Seattle, they scored 30, 31, something like that. And then all of a sudden you get Cleveland, and then, and again, Cleveland had a pass rush, they had a front four, and they just kind of got after him in that game. Although, like you said, whatever Cleveland put on film, Chargers managed to counter attack by scoring 47 instead of 7 like the Vikings had. But maybe in this game on Sunday, it was kind of a matter of, the offense isn't clicking, don't take chances, you're going to win anyway. And, they probably should have won anyway, pretty, easily or, comfortably, at least, even without a great offensive performance. Because, like I said, like the Lions were in desperation mode. They went for it from their own territory on 4th and forever when it was 16-6 with just like a few minutes left in the game. And then, Vikings get the ball back, and it's like, okay, this game is just on cruise control. And next thing you know, they've missed a field goal. The Lions get within 16-9. Madison fumbles. Next thing you know, the Lions are up 17-16. And you're like, well, okay, now you got to cut it loose. So, it's probably a combination of conservative approach, not trusting Kirk Cousins, not trusting the offensive line. But against the Lions, like, that was an opportunity not just to win, but to get some confidence in the things you do. And they can't have any confidence in what they're doing, especially offensively, coming off that game.
It's you look at the schedule right now. Now there's hope in Carolina because Darnold came back to the down to earth yesterday and threw 3 interceptions, and they kicked away a game against the mediocre Eagles. But if you're playing like this when that schedule starts after the bye week, you got no chance. They got 3-4 really tough games, and something's got to change. They cannot play the way they played at home the last 2 weeks. That's right. I was wrong. They only got 7 last week. They scored 26 points in 2 games in the modern NFL. That's incredible. You can't do that. It's almost impossible. And by the way, all of this coming with an offense where Kirk is still received more praise than he ever has here, right? Because they'd say, "Well, Kirk, he's okay," but he's now throwing one interception a game, and I don't get it. I how about the play where Kirk pretends like they snapped the ball over his head.
Yeah.
Then they're running. He's trying to look like a drunk coming out of a bar downtown Minneapolis at 3 a.m. and thinking he's fooling somebody. And even the dumbass Lions can throw the guy for an 8-yard loss. What a dumb play that was. God, this guy, I lost my faith in Clint. That's for sure. Clint's the 15 plays they start the game with always look a lot better than the rest of the game. That's for sure. I don't know. I don't get it, because not only are the Lions bad, Mike, they're hurt.
Right.
They got a bunch of injuries. They got an offensive line that has just guys that were third stringers when the season started, and they defensively they've lost a bunch of defensive backs, and they're banged up, and they had you beat. It's incredible.
Since I was a kid, my grandpa, Jim Warner, taught us to treat our customers like family. And to thank you for 67 years, Warner Stellian is offering unbeatable appliance savings. Go to warnerstellian.com to get your $50 coupon you won't find anywhere else.
You know, it's interesting reading Ben Gessling's game story, because a couple things in there was some subtext. Now, I want to get into the big picture of this game and where this might have ranked in Vikings history had they lost it in a minute here. But, you know, Zimmer even said he thought they were too conservative on one series, the one right after the Vikings got the ball back when they were up 16-6, 3:39, the one we just talked about before Joseph missed that field goal. But, you know, a lot of players kind of said, you know, they didn't, you know, kind of hinting maybe at they wanted a more aggressive game plan or things like that. You know, when things like this start to happen, I want to start there, and I want to get into the Cousins post game with Zimmer, which was bizarre too. We'll get into that in a minute, but like
beating up a guy with health problems, that was very interesting.
Yeah, it was awkward at the very least. But you know, this is the kind of game, even in a win, even if in a loss, it would have been just catastrophic. And even in a win, when you have to scramble to win at the end in a game like that, this is the kind of game that can start to kind of pull apart, you know, erode that confidence players have in the plan, don't you think?
Yes, I do. I mean, the last 2 weeks, the defense has got to be saying, what the hell's going on here? Well, fellas, let's move the ball. How do you think Pouty Adam Thielen would have felt if he hadn't got 2 passes in the last 5 minutes? He was 0 for 0 all day long with 1 target, and he's a bit of a good old Minnesota boy, egomaniac, and I don't think he would have taken that either. Yeah, I gotta think there's a little dissension. It'll be very interesting to see how they show up in Carolina. And of course, we have some famous trips to Carolina, none greater than the post-boat trip to Carolina. But I don't know. They're just, it doesn't. I think Zim's gone if they lose that game and then lose to Carolina. I mean, if they would have lost these next 2, I don't think he was. I've said that before. I don't think he was going to make it out of the bye week. But I don't get how they're playing, because the defense was good again yesterday against a bad team, obviously. But it's well, I mean, they made Jared Goff look pretty good down the stretch, and I never could stand him. But I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. How they're when they went out once again. The rushing defense was terrible at the start. They got a little better as the day progressed, but considering you're playing against the Lions, DeAndre Swift should be tearing you up for 8-9 yard gains left and right. It was bad, Mike.
It was really bad. And okay, now we got to get into the Zimmer Cousins. Immediately after the field goal, they're standing right next to each other. Field goal goes through. Cousins turns to Zimmer, like grabs him by the shoulders, and apparently what we're being told is he screams, "You like that?" He's doing kind of his "you like that" thing. That was what was reported anyway. And it's just like, and after the game, after the game, Cousins just said, "Yeah, I was excited. We were just celebrating." Was it just an alpha male celebration thing, or was it?
But he gave
it was
him a good
weird.
two-handed. He gave him the push in the chest.
Yeah, and then
Zimmer didn't like. You can tell me anything you want to. Zimmer did not like it.
No, because he shoved him back hard.
Yes, it hurt him. It did something. Plus, he's had stuff. All he's got to do is tip over, hit his head on the turf, and who the hell knows what happens to him. And yeah, we can sugarcoat it all we want to. Zim was, I think the grab of the shirt was fine, right? But when he pushed him, and he pushed him hard in the chest, Zimmer did not like it.
No.
And it proved it once again to Zimmer that his quarterback's an idiot. That's what it proved to Zimmer. So, in my opinion, that's how it looked. That's how it looked to me.
Yeah, these guys,
if this was Aaron Rodgers and LaFleur, we'd be thinking it was a sure sign of great dissension, wouldn't we? Wouldn't we be labeling it that way? Wouldn't we?
Yeah. Well, just watching it, it was like, are they gonna fight like right after a win? Like what? Like yes. It's what it looked like. Like I even had to I watched the clip like 10 different times, and like I even texted Ben Gessling, our beat writer, and it's like, what, do we know what that was yet? And so, he addressed it in the game story, saying, what was told to them, and, that there was all sorts of, social media conjecture that it was going to be a fight, and they tried to downplay it, and we can take him at their word. Like, post-game celebrations are weird. Maybe Kirk just pushed the wrong button, pushed him the wrong way, and Zimmer pushed back, and that was that. It wasn't like a fight was about to happen, but like they were kind of holding Zimmer back after that. It was weird at the very least to
it
watch.
Was. And now we're gonna all we're gonna get it's gonna be extremely underplayed, and Zim, I'm sure, will be asked more about it today and say it was nothing, because he's got to say that. But for a moment, he was agitated. Yeah. He was upset for a moment. No matter what you want to, how you want to frame it, there were 10 seconds there where he was contemplating hitting him, hitting him back, I think. So it was really weird. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, no, it was something else. It was a sight to behold. And I want to know more, but maybe after they have a chance to watch the film, they'll be able to comment on it more. I don't know.
This is going to be a something that the little 6-second videos people send to respond to stuff. Right. This is going to be one of the, what do we call those?
Memes? This is going to be a meme.
Yeah, meme, GIF, whatever it is. Well, one of those things. This is one that's going to be repeated, which you see often, in the future. This will be a memorable little piece of tape when Zim's gone. When Zim's gone, which still could be after bye week if they go down. Yeah. Embarrassment, Carolina. I gotta admit, I thought bye week was coming up this week, but so they got one more road game, and they have bye week.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
You've been around for plenty of Vikings history. Maybe we can end the Vikings portion of this. So what, in terms of meaning, obviously they've lost games in more excruciating fashion, but I just watching how the end was unfolding, and if they had lost that game, I said the feeling like that was going to be like up there in terms of the all-time Vikings managing to grab a loss when a victory seemed certain. Obviously, Gary Anderson, 1998. Like there's Nate Poole when they knocked him out of the playoffs in 2003. Yes. But this game was over there at home against a terrible team. Like this was going to be way up there for me.
Well, I was watching at the end, and I said, "Go for two," and he went for two.
Yeah, I was too.
Threw it in the back of the end zone. I'm saying you got to go for two. Now, let me say this: the teams are really playing stupidly at the end of these games with 37 seconds to go, aren't they? With the field goal kickers you have today, you can't let them get past your 50, right? You
Yeah.
can't. And, we saw the same thing. Aaron Rodgers got the ball back with the same amount of time left, 37 seconds. Now he had to go down the field, not this week, but a couple of weeks ago to win a game. And you got to play. We've been saying it for 100 years. Prevents victory, but you got to play defense. You got to play the same defense that has kept the Vikings in check the entire second half. And and to give it right back to them was, how would you like to be the Lions? They may never win another one, right? they're just unbelievable how they can accomplish. They got a miracle win, and then they turn it into another defeat. Even when they get a miracle win, they can turn it into a defeat. They're unbelievable.
Remember 2 weeks ago when they lost, 2 or 3 weeks ago when they lost to the Ravens on the Ravens convert that 4th and forever, then make the 66-yard field goal.
Yeah, right.
Remember Jared Goff said the gut punches will stop eventually. It's I was thinking about that when they lost that one yesterday.
That was Scott Mitchell said that too.
They've been saying it for a while.
100 other 2 playoff wins since 1957.
Unbelievable.
That's all you got to know. So,
By the
way, do you know any golfer who's a really good, hits a big hook? I'm a slicer. Most of us bad golfers are slicer. Mason Crosby had the bad hook going yesterday, man. He hadn't missed a kick all year. He missed 3 in 4 minutes and 4 seconds.
It was unbelievable.
Would have won the game. The first one looked like somebody in a sand trap who just hit this big thing screaming left. It was not even close. And then after that, none of them were close. And I'll say one thing, they had the guts to run him out there again, but they got there. Talk about a team that worked hard to get beat. That was them yesterday. They looked terrible. They had that game in control and looked terrible. I watched quite a bit of it because they were playing for an hour after the Viking game was over.
They were.
I watched an hour of their game after the Viking game were over, and they had the thing won. And man, by the way, Rodgers and Devontae Adams is turning into one of the great connection NFL history. It's amazing. It is incredible. But they're 4-1 and look like about a 2-3 team if the way they actually play. So
the Bengals missed 2 kicks too, including the one where the guy thought he made it and started celebrating.
Yeah, what was that? The ball hit the flag, and the flag was flowing out to the other side of the goalpost. That made it an easy call. It hit the flag. It did. Yeah, but the guy was acting like he hit it downtown, right? McPherson, it was right. It was like he thought he hit one dead center perfect. Right. What the hell was wrong with him?
I don't know. It looked good until it moved left a little bit, but then he thought he still made it. I don't know.
They were all jumping around and kissing each other.
They missed 5. Those guys combined to miss 5 field goals in like the last 3 minutes of regulation into overtime. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was crazy, but it's we wrote the obit on the Packers after the opener, and now they won 4 in a row.
Yeah,
and
I know.
Meanwhile, here's my bottom line on the Vikings: not nearly as good as I thought they were going to be.
Yeah,
I thought they were going to be good. I mean, they had a goofy training camp, which can lead to bad stuff, but I thought if the offensive line was competitive, which it has been at times, that they were good. They are not nearly as good as I thought they were going to be. They are not very good. That's the bottom line, I think.
They're a team with talent. They're just not a good team. Like they've just too many things that can go wrong in a given game. By the way, and Mark Craig wrote about this, and I was watching it, and I was even texting friends about the Herndon, the tight end they got from the Jets. He's killing them. He barely plays, but Mark wrote about this. He had 2 penalties that basically killed 2 drives. He hasn't been good. I mean, it's just, they're probably missing Irv Smith Jr., but every team's going to have injuries. But every button they've pushed has been wrong.
Yeah. Let me say this. There's a Star Tribune readership audience know how lucky they are to have the wise old owl, Mark Craig, because he is a wonderful observer of football and Viking football. And that little 5-piece thing he does every Monday. I mean, he does other great stuff. His piece last week on Zim and his offensive coordinators and Stefanski was tremendous because he just talked to everybody. And this thing on that's my first read on Monday morning when I get the paper. I read the paper in the morning, and that's my first read. He's great. Yeah. He's great.
Let's shift gears a little bit. We were talking about this before the show started. Baseball over the weekend got a little long. He could fit could have crammed 2 NFL games into the Rays and Red Sox. That one did go 13 innings, but it was almost 5.5 hours, right?
I think it was 5. Well, it started at 7:07. No, it started at 3:07. And I put out, I'm confident this game will be over before 9, and it just barely made it. And one of the odd a play I've never seen or imagined in my life, Mike, the ground rule double. When the guy's such a klutz that it hits him basically in the body and hops over. And this is one of the few ballparks in America, Fenway, with that short wolf fence out there, where it actually would have hopped over the fence. And apparently the way the umpires, now my feeling on the ground rule double always has been the umpires can score him if they want to, right? It's supposed to be 2 bases, but if they determine the runner was in position where he's definitely going to score, they can score him. And I was surprised that they didn't score him, because there's no doubt he was going to score on that ball. So I'm really surprised by that. So it was amazing. It just makes baseball look silly that the clumsier you are, the better chance you have to prevent a run, right?
Yeah.
So it's an obscure rule. I don't think any of us had seen it, so we didn't know what was going on. I was surprised Kevin Cash didn't have to be removed by ambulance screaming at the umpires, because I would have went on for a while. But anyway, so that game lasted forever. And then the Whiteys, who looked like they were dead, come bouncing back. But that one took 4:27, and there was 8.5 innings. I don't know what baseball is going to do, but it's honest to God. I was watching a game, and my wife and I watched 2 episodes of Anthony Bourdain's layover stuff. Okay. And I came back down and still watched, and those were each like 50 some minutes. And I came back down and watched the end of both of them, basically. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what you're going to do. Tampa, I don't know how many pitchers they ended up with at the end. They had 9 pitchers when they hit extra innings. I don't know how they've gone to you have to face 3 batters, but that doesn't seem to make any difference. The other thing is, Mike, nobody goes after a hitter. No, anymore. It's always you. You're always trying to make the perfect pitch. Nobody throws it over with a little sink trying to get the ground balls. Right. Every at bat is 6 pitches, if you're lucky. And foul balls, or I've been saying for about 5 years now, what's killing us is foul balls, because there's more foul balls than you've ever seen in life. The guys fighting off pitches, waiting for the pitch that they want to get. And every pitch is science. It's I always used to go crazy because when I heard Hubie Brown do a basketball game, every trip up and down the court was required great analysis as to what happened. Even if some guy dribbled in and dunked, it was because 3 other guys did this. Well, it's the same way in baseball. Every pitch is now science. Every pitch drives you nuts. Yeah. Throw it over, see what happens. God almighty. Hansel the Regrettable was one reason he ended up. Hansel looked like he was out of it. Of course, he wasn't, because he
never is.
Hansel came in with a 2-run lead and immediately gave up a home run and then walked the next guy. So it looked familiar. That's for sure.
It was very familiar. The other thing that looked familiar, this was, the circumstance of the play was a little different, but I couldn't help think about, when the Rays got the unfortunate bounce with the ground rule double. Reminded me of the Koski double in 2004 at Yankee Stadium when the Twins were going to take the lead. I think it was the 8th or 9th inning. They were going to take the lead, and instead they end up going to extra innings and losing that game.
Yeah, where did that ground
momentum
roll go?
play?
Where'd that one
That was down the left field line.
Yeah, that's right.
It hit the chalk and bounced, or close to the chalk, bounced up, and I'm not sure who would have scored if it was Torrey that was on, but it was.
That's right.
I think they would have gone ahead. They might have figured out a way to lose that one anyway.
Could have been worse. Phil Cuzzy could have called it foul. So
he wouldn't dare do that.
He'd been there. So he's still umpiring, by the way.
I know.
God, how many years ago was that?
That was the Cuzzy play. No, the Cuzzy play was in the 2009 ALDS.
Okay. All right.
So let's finish with some. Let's finish with a little soccer talk. You brought up soccer in our pre-show chat, so I had it written down. I wasn't sure if we were going to get to it, but it was a double dose yesterday, so we should.
Wow.
Loons lose 3-1 at home, even though Colorado is shorthanded in the last 35 minutes. This Colorado scores 3 goals, down a man in the last 35 minutes, and the U.S. loses a World Cup qualifier at Panama.
I know we were so confident we played our B team and then ended up getting shut out by Panama, for God's sakes. They won one for Noriega or some damn thing. It's unbelievable. I can't believe how hard a work they make out of the the World Cup qualifying when they're, okay, you got Mexico and that's it. We got millions of soccer players. We still are fighting to beat Panama, for God's sakes. Come on. What's wrong here? We should have 6 teams that are better than Panama, right? 6 squads that are better than Panama. Now, I got to say one thing about the Loons beyond blowing the league. Reading Jerry Zagoda's piece today about he was back on the beat and about the crowd, and it obviously wasn't as large as they announced. They had season tickets there, but it didn't have the same vibe. I'm wondering, with the way the soccer season goes, Mike, I think we look at it as a summer sport, don't you? Early fall, kind of like baseball, and you're still playing, right? I mean, we're gonna get snow here pretty soon. Something's gonna happen. We're gonna wake up one morning and it's gonna be 26 degrees. I think playing outdoors in the length of a current soccer season, you're gonna have a big fall off late in the year as far as your crowds are concerned.
Well, the weather's going to turn, and you get there's so much competition now. A lot of soccer fans, maybe there may be soccer only fans, or they don't maybe pay attention to some of the other sports. But yeah, you're right. It's
I'm going to the actual game. I'm saying is going to the actual game when it's going to be freezing, and and all of a sudden you start going to the game, and not as many as you don't have the same vibe that you had in July, and I've been wondering about that. I don't even know, when does the regular season end? Another couple of weeks or what?
Oh no, it's they got a little bit left here. It's I think they play 30. There's 34. I think they play, and so they've got still a little ways to go here. And then they, I remember one year they played into December was when the championship was. I remember
watching a final up in Toronto one night, and it was like 10 below zero, and they were out there running around, and it was freezing up there. But yeah, so what were you going to tell me here?
I was going to say they've I think there's 6 games left in the regular season. Loons clinging to the last playoff spot in the West in the table. They are 7th right now. They're 1 point clear of Vancouver. So this is no sure thing that they get in. And if you wrote a week or two ago about worrying about Zim getting the boot, and we're losing all of our crusty old guys. Adrian Heath is a classic guy too, and you start to worry about his status at a certain point here too if they collapse.
I think Dr. Bill's a bit of a crotchety fella, and I think he wants success for his money, and I think Adrian, if they don't make if if they fall short of what they thought they had, I think he could get the axe. They do that. So soccer's like hockey, man.
Soccer's like soccer's like old hockey coaches.
Yeah, right. I mean, okay, this guy won the premiership 2 years ago, but we've lost 3 in a row. Goodbye. Our Arsenal fans are upset. We don't care. You're gone. We don't care if you were the greatest coach in the history of the sport. You had a 3-game losing streak and you got beat by Leicester City. You're fired. That's kind of the soccer vibe. It's unbelievable. They pull the trigger. And you know what? Hockey and soccer too is the same mentality, because they're the last 2 sports where the coaches can rag the hell out of the players. Don't rip them upside one down, up one side and down the other. Those are the last 2 sports that you can get away with that. But I think Adrian's in trouble. Even the big mistake was they made it to the Final Four last year, right? Weren't in the semifinals. So everybody thought they were, really had this foundation. But the other thing, Mike, is this dumb, idiotic league we have, the MLS. They have 5 of their players out playing for Madagascar and stuff. Who cares? You got a contract. You're not going to Madagascar. You're playing for me. What the hell is this nonsense? Robin Lode, or whatever his name is.
Lud.
The hell with Finland. Get back over here and help me win a game when I got more guys on the field than you do. This is idiotic that we care if Finland's going to make the World Cup or not. But when they sign him to contract, you play for me. Boom. Did Allen the Dodger Willie ever go play for Britain? Hell no. He stayed here and played for the glory of the Kicks. It upsets me greatly that that these guys just get on a plane and leave anytime they want to, because they might go get to watch a game on the sidelines when they're playing for Finland or someplace. Madagascar, that's my favorite. I looked up Madagascar when we had the guy. It has more crazy exotic animals that are, they got alligators that bred with monkeys, and they got these crazy animals, and they got about 10 square miles of civilization, but we can't have our player. We got to have him over there playing for Madagascar.
I got to admit, Patrick, I didn't think we were going to get a Madagascar rant, but I love every minute of that. Let's wrap it up, though. I'm curious to know what we're going to learn today in the Vikings fallout. Maybe it'll be pretty tame. Maybe maybe the fact that they won will paper over a lot of problems. But I will be interested to see how this team plays next week, because that's a big one, man. That's the difference between 3-3 at the bye and feeling like, okay, we can hit reset, or 2-4 and the wheels are falling off.
2-4 and look at the next 3 or 4 we got after that. And by the way, one last thing, congratulations to Lavelle Neal. The Bears win. Yes. The Mighty Whiteys win, and the Sky wins. It's Chicago owns the sports market today, and I'm sure Lavelle had a cocktail in celebration of each one of those. So.
All right, Patrick, we'll see you next week. Thank you.
All right.